Welcome to this course on statistical description of data. We'll start this course with the quick introduction of statistics. Then we'll discuss about different data collection techniques. Then we'll move on to presentation of data. And in the final section, we'll discuss about frequency distribution and the graphical representation of frequency distribution. This entire lecture is created from your study material and I have tried to cover 100% of it. Even the examples which are discussed are taken from your study material. Before beginning this course, let's understand the concept of statistics. Although this definition is not there in your study material, but just to make you understand, let me explain this. What do you mean by statistics? Actually, statistics is the science of learning from data, and it involves 4 steps. First, collecting data. Second, analyzing data. Third, drawing conclusion from the data. And fourth is presentation of data. Let me explain you with one example. You all are CA students and you might be attending some CA classes. So how do you decide that which CA class is best for you? What do you do for that? You must be visiting some CA classes and collected information from those classes. After that, you analyze those information, and from your analysis you must be reaching on some conclusion that this is the best CA class for you. So this is what? This is an example of statistics. Actually, we use statistics in every walk of life without even knowing it. In your CA class example also, all these steps are involved. See, first what did you do? You collected information. That is, information is nothing but data. So you visited few CA classes and you collected those information. From that information, what was your next step? Next step was you analyze those information. So that is nothing but analyzing data. What was your third step? Third step, after analyzing, what did you do? You reached on some conclusion that this is the best CA class for you. So all these 3 steps are involved in your CA class example also. This forget about presentation of data. This is used in professional statistics. This we will discuss later. Now we will move on to your study material. So first we'll discuss about history of statistics. Actually, nobody knows for sure that how statistics is originated, but few scholars believe that it is originated from Latin word status. Some of them believes that it is originated from Italian word statista. Few of them believes that it has come from German word statistic, and some of them believes that it is originated from French word statistique. Now we will discuss about definition of statistics. As per your study material, definition of statistics is defined in 2 sense. In plural sense, it is called data, and in singular sense, it is called method. See, it's very simple to remember this. What is plural? Plural is more than one. And what is data? Data is also aggregation of information, right? This is also more than one. So in plural sense, it is data. For example, in your CA class example, how did you collect information? You visited more than one CA classes and you collected information. So that is what? That information is always more than one. So in plurals, and plural means more than one, and data is also more than one. So in plural sense, it is data, and in singular sense, it is method. So method could be data collection method, data analysis method, or presentation method. So there are so many data collection method, so many data analysis method, and so many data presentation method. But out of all these methods, we always use one method. So method is also one, and in singular means singular is also one. So in singular sense, it is method. So what is the definition of statistics as per your study material? So in plural sense, it is data, and in singular sense, it is method. Now we will discuss about use of statistics. As I told you before that statistics is used in almost everything, but in our study material we have to confine our discussion only in these 4 fields. What are those 4 fields? First is industry, second is commerce, third is economics, and fourth is business management. So it's very easy to remember all these 4 fields. Okay, you must have seen movie Titanic. टाइटैनिक मूवी में क्या हुई थी? एक टाइटैनिक शिप था जो एक आइसबर्ग से टकरा गई थी, और आइसबर्ग से टकराने के बाद टाइटैनिक टाइटैनिक शिप डूब गया था। तो आप जस्ट ये आइसबर्ग याद रखिए, जस्ट रिमेंबर दिस आइसबर्ग वेयर आई स्टैंड्स फॉर इंडस्ट्री, सी स्टैंड्स फॉर कॉमर्स, ई स्टैंड्स फॉर इकोनॉमिक्स एंड बी स्टैंड्स फॉर business management. So it's very simple to remember this one. Just remember this iceberg. So only we'll discuss about these four fields: industry, commerce, economics and business management. Now before moving on to next slide, we'll discuss about few terms. So data could be of qualitative data and quantitative data. What do you mean by qualitative data? See, this qualitative word is derived from word quality. So data which deals with quality, which deals with description, is called qualitative data, which can be observed but cannot be measured. For example, color of a car. Can you measure the color of a car? The smell or taste of a food, or beauty. Whenever you see a beautiful girl on the road, what do you see? What is your first reaction? वाह यार क्या कमाल की लड़की है. But can you measure the beauty of that girl? No, right? So that type of data is called qualitative data, which cannot be measured but can be observed, which always deals with the quality of anything. So this is called qualitative data. Another type of data is called quantitative data, which can be quantified, which can be measured. That type of data is called quantitative data. For example, age, weight and height. So all these things can be measured, right? So this type of data is called quantitative data. So quantitative characteristics of a data is called variable also. For example, age, height, number of employees in a company, these are called variables. And qualitative characteristics of data is called attributes, like gender, nationality of employee. These are called attributes of data. Now we'll discuss about limitation of statistics. Actually, if you observe minutely, you will come to know that limitation of statistics lies in the definition of statistics itself. Let me explain you how. See, what is the first limitation of statistics? First limitation is that statistics deals with aggregate of data, not with individual. This is but obvious, right? For example, in your CA class example, what did you do? You visited few CA classes, not just one CA classes, and you collected information and you reached on some conclusion that this is best CA class for you. So here in order to make comparison between data, you have to aggregate data, right? So statistics deals with aggregate of data, not with individual. So this is the first limitation. Second limitation is that it deals with quantitative data, not with qualitative data. However, in few cases, qualitative data also can be converted into quantitative data. For example, beauty of a girl. You can decide, you can give rating for the beauty of any girl. Like for example, you can give rating from in the scale of 1 to 5. 1 stands for something else, 2 stands, you can define that 1 2 for definition of 1 2 3 and 4 and 5. So this is how you can convert qualitative data into quantitative data, and then you can run your statistics. So this is second limitation of statistics. What is the third limitation? Third limitation is that future projections are dependent on a specific set of conditions. See, before making any future projections about data, we make some assumption about data. If any of those assumptions are wrong, then our future projections also will be wrong. So this is the third limitation of statistics. The final limitation of statistics is sampling error. What do you mean by sampling error? Let me explain you with one example. Suppose your CA institute decided to do one survey to find out the reason of applying CA course by commerce graduate from different cities in India. So how do they do survey? Suppose they identified 15 cities that they will do this survey on 15 city. So suppose they came to Mumbai, okay, and in Mumbai they went to one college, for example St. Xavier's College, and they randomly selected 100 commerce graduate from St. Xavier's College, and they interviewed them, and then from those 100 students they collected information. So is that correct random sampling? Does that 100 student of commerce graduate from one particular college represent entire Mumbai city? No, right? Because your sample itself is wrong. In that sample, that random sample should be represent your entire population. Like instead of randomly selecting 100 students from one particular college, they should have visited various colleges in different part of Mumbai city. From all the section of society, randomly you select 100 people, interview them, and then based on that interview you reach on some conclusion. So here what do I mean by random sampling error is that if your random sample is wrong, your analysis also will be wrong. So there are some set of rules to how to select the random sample. So that rule has to be followed. So this is the final limitation of statistics, that sampling error. Now we'll discuss about classification of data. Data can be broadly classified into two sections. First is called primary data, second is called secondary data. What is primary data? Data collected for the first time by the investigator or agency for their analysis is called primary data. Means suppose you are running some survey and you went to some agency collecting information, or you interviewed few people and you collected information by yourself. So that type of collecting data is called primary data. So you are collecting data for yourself, for your analysis. So this is called primary data. What is secondary data? The data which is already collected by someone else, you are using that data for your analysis. That is called secondary data. For example, data which is already available on the website of some international agency like World Health Organization, or if you want to analyze some stock exchange data, then you can use the data which is already available on NSE website. So here you are not collecting data, you are using data which is already collected by someone else. So that is called secondary data. So you are clear about this difference between primary data and secondary data, right? Primary data is that primarily you are collecting data by yourself, so that is called primary data. And secondary data is that type of data which is already collected by someone else, but you are just using it for your analysis. So that type of data is called secondary data. Primary data means you are the person who is collecting data. Secondary is that you are just using the data already collected by someone else. Now we'll discuss about different methods of collecting primary data. There are 4 methods of collecting primary data. First is interview method. We'll discuss this in next slide in detail. Second is mailed questionnaire method. Here what do? You compile few set of questions and you mail it to millions of people. So what is the advantage of this type of data collection? Advantage is that large area can be covered. Means at a single point of time you can send a mail to millions of people. But what are the disadvantages? Disadvantage is that non-response can be maximum. That means suppose I have received one mail. It's up to me that whether to respond to that mail or not. Like it's मेरी मर्जी, मैं reply करूँ या ना करूँ. So this is the biggest disadvantage in this type of method. Third method is that observation method. Here how you are collecting data, you are not interviewing anyone, you are just collecting information based on your observation. For example, during your examination you must have seen some external observer comes at your examination center, right? They don't discuss with anyone, they just simply observe the students, how the administration of that college is conducting the examination, and based on their observation they prepare the report. So this type of method is called observation method. What is the advantage of that observation method? Advantage is that this best method of data collection, and this is most accurate also. Why it is most accurate? Because here you are not dependent on someone else, because you are collecting data directly by observing it. But there are some disadvantages also. So disadvantage is that this is very time consuming, and it is very laborious also, and it covers very small area. And fourth type of data collection method is investigation through enumerator. And how data is collected in this method is that, suppose in your house one guy came with few set of questions. They will ask you 100 questions, and whatever is your response, they will collect that information, and then they will do their analysis. So that type of data collection method is called investigation through an enumerator. So this is fourth method. Now we'll discuss about the interview method in detail in our next slide. See, there are three types of interview method. First is personal interview or direct interview. Second is indirect interview. Third is telephonic interview. What happens? How data is collected in case of personal interview? To collect information directly from the respondent. Example is a natural calamity. For example, recent Chennai flood. Few new channel guys goes there in flood affected area, and they are directly interviewing people who is affected in that flood. So this type of data collection method is called personal interview or direct interview method. What are the advantages in this method? The data accuracy is very high, and disadvantage that it covers very small. It covers very small area. You cannot cover large area in this type of method because you have to personally visit and ask the respondent. Second type of method is that indirect interview. So in this method, we collect information from the person associated with this incident, rather than directly from the respondent. For example, rail accident. In case of rail accident, you don't go and interview people who is affected in rail accident, right? Instead of that, you interview people who is associated with the railway, like administrator of railway. So that type of data collection technique is called indirect interview method. So again, advantage here is that data accuracy is very high. And final interview type of interview method is telephonic interview. So here you are collecting data through telephonic mean. You are just calling someone else and collecting information from them. So advantage with this method is that large area can be covered and it's very less expensive. And disadvantage is that it is inconsistent and less accurate. So how many types of interview methods are there? Personal interview or direct interview or indirect interview or telephonic interview. In personal interview, you are directly interviewing, gathering information from respondent. Here you are not directly gathering information from respondent, but you are gathering information from the person who is associated with the incident, and here you are directly calling someone and gathering information from them. So these are three methods of interview method. Now we will discuss about sources of secondary method of data collection. There are four sources of secondary method of data collection. First is international sources like WHO, World Health Organization, International Mutual Fund or World Bank. Like at their website, so many data data is always available. Anytime you can visit their website and you can collect information from there and you can run your analysis. So this type of data is called secondary data, and it is international source. This data has come from international source. Second type of secondary data is government sources like Ministry of Manpower or Ministry of Food and Agriculture. We can visit any government websites and we can collect data from their website. So this is another source of secondary data. The third source of secondary data is private and quasi source like NCRT or news channel data. And final source of secondary data is unpublished source of various research institute and researchers. So some research institute, they also collect so many data for their research, right? So we can use that information also for our analysis. So that comes under unpublished source of various research institute and research. So what are the different sources of secondary data? First is international source, second is government sources, third is private and quasi sources, and fourth is unpublished sources of various research institute and researchers. Now we'll discuss about classification of data. Actually, why do we need to classify data? you collected so many information, but unless you classify them, it's very difficult to make any observation. It's very difficult to run your statistics or make any comparison between data. For example, after election, so many news channels releases that exit poll result, right? So how do they do the exit poll? They visit uh, they visit so many cities and interview people from different part of India, and based on their interview, they analyze that which party is going to win particular election. They do the forecast. So how do they do this forecast? See, after collecting data, they classify it. That this data belong to this particular region, like this is northern part of India, this is southern part, this is western part, and this is eastern part. And based on this classification, they do that in this particular region, this party is supposed to win so many seats. Okay, so that classification is very much necessary to run any statistics. Unless it is not classified, this complete data will be complete mess. So that's why classification is very important for any data. So what are the objective behind classification? It puts data in neat, precise and condensed form. Second is that it makes comparison possible between various characteristics, like I gave you example of exit poll. So here you can make comparison that in western part which party is winning, eastern part which party is winning, northern part which party is winning, southern part of India which party is winning. So it makes comparison also easy, very easy. And statistical analysis is possible only on classified data. Unless data is not classified, how you will run your statistical method? Without data classification of data will be completely mess. You cannot do anything. Also, if data is classified, you can easily identify that which are unwanted data, and you can easily eliminate unnecessary detail. So that's why classification is important. There are four different data classification techniques. First is chronological or time series data, second is geographical data, third is qualitative data, and fourth is quantitative data. We'll discuss all these four in detail in our next slide. See, in this slide I have explained all four type of data collection techniques, data classification techniques. See, first is chronological data or time series data. Here data is presented in the form of time series. See here in this example, here year wise we have production of any company, like 2010 this was the production, 2011 this much was the production, and 2012 this much was the production, 2013 this much was the production. So here you can see the data is represented in the time series format in chronological order. So this type of classification is called chronological data classification. Second is called geographical data classification. So geographical data classification is represented based on the geographical location of any country or continent, like that. So in this example, for there are several branches in different city of any company. So here from Pune city, all from these different Pune, Chennai, Kolkata and Delhi cities, the total number of sales are represented in this data, in this table. So this type of representation is called geographical data classification. Third is that qualitative data, and fourth is quantitative data. This we have already discussed previously. So there are four type of data classification techniques. First, chronological data. Second is geographical data. Third is qualitative data, and fourth is quantitative data. Now we will discuss about mode of presentation of data. Actually, data can be presented in the three mode. First is textual presentation, second is tabular presentation, third is diagrammatic presentation. So what was the first mode of presentation? First mode of presentation is textual presentation. In this presentation method, data is presented in the form of text or paragraphs. For example, any inquiry commission report you must have seen, right? So that is not presented in any other format. That is presented in textual format. That will huge paragraphs will be there. So that type of data presentation is called textual presentation. Here is one example from your study material. Like in 2000, the number of workers belonging to trade union was increased by 20%, as compared to 1999, of which 4200 blah 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 like that. So this type of data presentation is called textual presentation. See, second mode of data presentation is tabular presentation. So in this method, data is presented in the form of table. Table contains different rows and columns. So these are called rows. The data which represents in horizontal order, these are called rows, and these are called columns. So in tabular presentation, data is presented in the form of table. So in tabular presentation we use some keywords also. So let me explain you these keywords. See, the area which is covered in green, this complete portion, green portion, is called box head. So what is box head? This complete portion in green is called box head. So these words like members of TU, non-members, these are called captions. And the data which describes about the rows are called stub. Like this particular row belongs to 2009, this particular row belongs to 2010 data, and this particular row belongs to 2011 data. So data, the portion which describes about row is called stub, and the rest of the portion, rest of this information is called body. This is called body. And finally we have footnotes. It like here we have used like a few terms like TU stands for trade union, M is for male, F is for female. So this is footnote. So what are the different data presentation mode we discussed? Textual presentation, tabular presentation, and diagrammatic presentation. What do we discuss? In textual presentation, what do we discuss? In textual presentation, data presented with the help of paragraphs. For example, official report of inquiry commission. What are the advantages of textual representation? Advantage is that it's very simple. Its advantage lies in its simplicity, that any layman can understand this type of presentation. But there are some disadvantages with textual presentation. It's a very dull way to represent any data. Plus it is very monotonous. Same thing is repeated again and again. And comparison between different observation is not possible in this type of presentation mode. So these are the few disadvantages of textual representation. Another mode we discuss is tabular presentation. In tabular presentation, data is presented in the form of table having rows and columns. So here, what are the advantages of this presentation? Here, advantage is that rows and columns can be compared. Here, rows and columns you can compare, and the complicated data can be presented in tabular format also. Third advantage is that this is mandatory for diagrammatic representation of any data. So this is prerequisite for diagrammatic representation. Without presenting data in tabular mode, you cannot make any diagram. So this is mandatory for for diagrammatic presentation. And final advantage is that statistical analysis is not possible without tabulation. If you want to make any statistical analysis, for that also this is mandatory. This type of tabular presentation is mandatory. And final mode of data presentation is called diagrammatic presentation. There are three types of diagrammatic presentation. Here data is presented in the form of charts, diagram, or pictures. There are three types of diagrams we can present here: line diagram, bar diagram, or pie chart. So advantage is that can be used for educated and uneducated sections both. Anyone can understand by looking at the diagram. And disadvantage with this representation is that this is very less accuracy. Accuracy is very low in this type of presentation of data. We'll discuss about this diagrammatic presentation in detail in our next slide. Now we'll discuss about diagrammatic presentation of data. See, to explain you about diagrammatic presentation of data, let's take one example. This example is taken from your study material. Here, see, profits in lakhs of any industry house is given from year 2002 till 2008. See, here you can see that all three modes of presentation of data is there. See, this is nothing but textual presentation of data. So this example is this everything is given in textual format. And this textual format is converted into tabular format. See here, So the same thing is converted into tabular format. So this presentation is called tabular format. We converted this data into tabular format. Here we have taken years. Year is from 2002 to 2008, and what are the profits made by this industrial house from 2002 to 2008. Here it is presented in tabular format. See, first way of diagrammatic presentation is the line diagram. So here data can be data can be presented into a line diagram. As I had told you before that, see, tabular presentation is mandatory for any type of diagrammatic presentation. So here from this table we will draw this line diagram. So here what is the data here? In 2002, profit made by that company is 5 lakhs in rupees. So in 2002, here we'll make one dot, we'll give 1.5. Okay, in 2003 the profit made by that company was 8. So here, okay, here 2003 profit made was the company was, so here you put one dot. Similarly, you put dots on different in that scale. You have to choose that point and you have to just put one dot, and finally you have to join all these dots in order to create the line diagram. So this is nothing but line diagram. This is another example of diagrammatic presentation of data. Another way of data presentation method is called bar diagram. Here same data is presented in the form of bar. See here we have taken x-axis and y-axis. X-axis we have different timelines from 2002 till 2008, and y-axis we have profits in rupees, in lakhs rupees. So here 2002 profit made by that company was 5. In 2003 profit made by that company was 8. In 2004 profit made by that company was 9. So we will just draw one bar. We'll just draw one bar on for each and every year. So this is another way of presentation of data. This is nothing but bar diagram. See, there could be multiple line and bar diagram also. Let me give you one example to explain this. So in this example, the production of wheat and rice for a region are given below. See, this is production in metric ton of wheat and rice from year 2005 till 2008. So in wheat, this is production of wheat and this is production of rice. So represent this information into suitable diagram. So we'll represent both this information into multiple line diagram and bar diagram. See here, same tabular format is represented into diagrammatic format in the form of line diagram. Here we have two different variety of items, right? First is wheat, another is rice. So first line diagram is for wheat, okay, and second, this dotted dashed line is for rice. So here in 2005 rice production was 12, so we will put one dot here. In 2006 rice production was 15, so we will put one dot here. Similarly, we put one dot for 2007 and 8, and finally you just join this line. So here in x-axis represent your timeline and y-axis represent the production in metric ton. Okay, so similarly you have to put one dot for rice also from 2005 till 2008, and then finally you join this line. So this dashed line is for rice, and this bold line is for wheat. So similarly, you can in case of line diagram, you can have single line diagram also, and you can have multiple line diagram also. Similarly, in case of bar diagram also, you can have single bar diagram or multiple bar diagram. If number of items are more than one, then you have to represent this data into multiple bar diagram. For example, here we have wheat and rice. So here, see, this rice is represented with blank box, and this wheat is represented with dashed box. So this is representation of another way of representation of multiple bar diagram. Now we will discuss about pie chart. This is the last diagrammatic representation. So what was the first diagrammatic representation? First was line diagram, second was bar diagram, third is pie chart. So we'll discuss about pie chart in this slide. So let's take one example. Draw an appropriate diagram with the view of represent data from the following table. See, here you have different sources like custom, excise, income tax, corporate tax, and miscellaneous. And revenue revenue in millions in rupees is given. So now we will draw one pie chart for this example. See, this is how pie chart is drawn, but you have to understand that how this angle is measured. See all this. This is nothing but this is exercise. This dash line is IT, that is income tax, and similarly there are different symbols used for custom, corporate tax, and miscellaneous also. But you have to find out that how this angle, how this area, how you will define that how much area is covered by which source. So for that I will explain you in detail how this angle is generated. See how angle of a pie chart is computed. See, here we have example of custom, exercise, income tax, corporate tax, miscellaneous, and total. Everything's revenue in million rupees is given here. See, first you have to sum all these values. So total sum is here 540. Okay, in a circle, what is the total sum of angles? Total sum of angle is 360 degree, right? Now, how much portion is covered by which source? How you will compute? So here, custom total revenue for custom is 80. So first we'll take the percentage. How much percentage it is? How much percentage it has from total 540? So 80 divided by 540 into 360. So this is how angle of any item is computed. So similarly you have to do for the rest of the item. So this is out of 360 degree, 53 degree will be covered by customs. Similarly for exercise, income tax, and corporate tax, miscellaneous. In our next lecture we'll discuss in detail about frequency distribution and various representation of frequency distribution.